The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. It's your midweek fix for racing news and information. Brought to you by the Championship Racing Network. Now let's head trackside to join your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson.
Welcome into episode number 19, Crossed Flags. This will actually be round number 2 for Molly, who is going to come in here in just a little bit. But first things, we want to give a couple of updates here. Just kind of get set in, give a couple of fairly decent-sized stories of the day. Real quick John Force update, good news, which we mentioned last week. He's been transferred to a neural rehab center out in California, and because of that, Britney Force is actually going to be back driving this weekend as they go up to Kent, Washington, just outside of Seattle. So Britney Force is back, and John Force Racing seems to be back almost in full force, and we'll keep an eye on how things are going with John as things go on. No penalty for Corey LaJoie. Didn't figure that there would be. There was a little bit of contact between him and Kyle Busch, and I think most people made way too much of it anyway. You watched it. You tell me.
When you have a driver say that he gets what he deserves and you see that it is a deliberate hook, that makes me question who's making the calls on penalties. There's a clear radio transmission that says he got what he deserves, and Ryan Sparks, the crew chief, drops a couple of clear-cut expletives and says, we don't you fill in the blank care. We're watching for our you fill in the blank selves. End of story.
Okay.
So why are we fining somebody $50,000 for doing a little door pop on a cool down lap after the race, but we've got another driver that hooks a car into traffic and admits it? That's a problem.
Yeah, well. And then we got this picture that we're about to show you here, and this is StingRay Rob. This happened on the last, final lap, very last lap of the second race of the doubleheader at Iowa last weekend. Oof. What happened is he's coming around, and Alexander Rossi is apparently going. Alexander Rossi was the slow car, correct?
Yes.
Comes around, makes contact with him, pops him up in the air, ends up flipping over.
Actually, it was Rob come up on him so fast that he tried to avoid him, and his right front caught Rossi's left rear and launched him.
Yeah. So pops him up into the air, flips him over onto, and this is dangerous. Remember, these are quote-unquote open-wheel cars. So it flips him over onto the top side of the car, and he goes sliding down the backstretch looking like this. This right here, this area, that's the aero screen with the equivalent of what Formula One calls the halo device, which is a titanium metal piece that goes up above the driver's head to be able to keep their head from directly striking the pavement or whatever else it may be. That right there probably saved StingRay Rob.
Oh, there's no question it did.
I don't know about
no question at all.
Life, don't know. Serious injury, almost certainly.
It saved him from a head injury.
Absolutely. StingRay Rob, with a small bit of assistance, gets out of the car, is taken to the infield care center, is flown by helicopter to Des Moines, not too far away from Newton. They checked him in, they checked him out, released him the same night. He goes home. He will be racing this weekend in Toronto. He says the only injury he got was when he was getting out of the car, he put one hand on the titanium over the bar, and he got a blister from it because the titanium bar was so hot because it had been scraping along the road that it caused an immediate blister on his hand. That he says is the only injury he got from this wreck.
Which is, I'd rather take that than anything else.
Absolutely. Yeah, a blister over the potential of what all could have been done. Yeah.
He took a ride.
AJ Foyt Racing made the comment that they, and StingRay Rob both, they were highly complimentary of the safety improvements that IndyCar has made over the last few years.
No doubt.
And I understand why. And that'll bring us to talking a little bit about Formula One. Some of these are rumors, some of these are confirmed. We're going to start off a little bit more on the rumor side here. Haas F1 in Formula One is right now, one American-owned Formula One team. And they're about to go through a heck of a lot of changes here. Nico Hülkenberg is leaving. He's going to Sauber at the end of the year. Sauber, of course, is going to switch from their current engine provider, which is Ferrari, and they're going to become an Audi Works team. They will become the Audi team for 2026. Nico Hülkenberg is going to be a centerpiece for them. So they knew they were going to need one driver. So they signed a kid from Ferrari, the Ferrari development driver, Ollie Behrman. Kid made his debut earlier on this year, filling in for Carlos Sainz, who was having his appendix taken out.
Appendix, yep.
And finished 7th in his debut race in Formula One.
Extremely respectable.
Very, very respectable. So Haas F1, being aligned with Ferrari like they are, had the inside run on him, and they signed him to a multi-year deal. Now we've been trying to figure out what they're going to do with that second seat. Kevin Magnussen's definitely on a hot seat. He's not performing that well. He's consistently being out-qualified and outperformed by Nico Hülkenberg this year. Mm-hmm. So it looks like he's on his way out. We keep hearing rumors, and rumors are rumors. So just say it right now, that Kevin Magnussen is indeed out and that they're going to take the guy who just left Alpine a couple of weeks ago, said that this is going to be his definite last year there, and that's Esteban Ocon. Do we know this for a fact? No. BBC, pretty reliable source, is one of those sources reporting it, but neither Haas F1 nor anybody associated with Formula One has made the announcement officially, so we're going to hold off. We'll just tell you, yes, that is out there as a possibility. We'll keep an eye on it and let you know whether it actually happens or not. Another rumor happens to come in when it comes to car manufacturers. Oh, what was it? Not quite 10 years that Toyota was involved in Formula One. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, and I don't know where this came up with other than the fact that some people from Toyota Racing Development, for all intents and purposes, were hanging around in and around the Haas F1 paddock area at the British Grand Prix. And now all of a sudden the rumor is that Toyota may be making a return to Formula One. Now, back when they were in it originally, they were engine providers. They never won a race, but they had a good number of podiums, had 3 or 4 pole positions, 3 or 4 fastest laps of the race during their time from about 2002 to 2009. But they decided that it was costing them too much, so they decided to get out of Formula One. Now, word is that they may be teaming up with Haas F1, Toyota, and they may be going in on helping build a chassis beginning either 2025 or 2026, more than likely 2026, when we get the new engine regulations in.
I would hate to be a public address announcer at either Miami, Las Vegas, or COTA, or by then, who knows where else F1 may be driving in the United States then. Who knows?
Could be New York. We've heard rumors that New York would like to have a race. We've heard rumors that they may go back out to Los Angeles and go back to the Long Beach Grand Prix Tour.
Well, here's next up on track. Here's Oliver Behrman in the Haas MoneyGram F1 Toyota Ferrari team. Huh?
So here's what they're saying may be coming up. Ever since Haas F1 got into Formula One, they've worked with Dallara to build the chassis for their racers. Dallara may sound familiar to you if you're familiar with all different kinds of forms of racing like we are, because they are the sole chassis provider, I should say, for the IndyCar series. All the cars are Dallara chassis. Doesn't matter whether they're Honda, whether they're Chevrolet engined, doesn't matter whether it's Andretti or Penske or Chip Ganassi or Dale Coyne or whoever. They are all running Dallara-built chassis. So Ferrari started, or I should say Haas F1 started working with them, and it fits when you stop and think about it because, first of all, they team with Ferrari, an Italian team. Then they turn around and they team with another Italian maker, Dallara, to build their chassis. Makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. Where does Toyota fit in this, you might ask? Well, you're allowed so much wind tunnel time to be able to work on your cars over the course of an off season. And for the most part, Haas F1 has been sharing wind tunnel time with Ferrari.
They have.
And here's the thing. Ferrari is only going to be oh so generous with their wind tunnel time.
They are.
So Haas F1 might be looking into this deal as a cooperative effort because guess what Toyota has sitting in Cologne, Germany? A wind tunnel of their own. Okay, then.
Pretty sure they've got a wind tunnel in North Carolina as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything could be done on the homestead in Kannapolis, where that big building that says Haas F1 team sits,
Yeah.
that we've seen out of our own two eyes.
Yes, we have, and it's huge. Good grief.
Yeah, I could see this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Exactly how else Toyota might be involved, we don't know. And again, all of this is rumor and speculation at this point in time, but we like to pass these things along to you.
And who knows where it may go with the Haas factory team and Cup.
Also true, because as we have been reporting here, when everything goes kind of sideways at the end of the year and it goes from Stewart Haas Racing to Haas Factory Racing, Gene Haas will have 1 Cup Series operation and 2 Xfinity Series cars. But he has no actual deal with a manufacturer at this time. He has said he will continue to run Ford in the short term, but when you're a single car Cup Series operation, and we've seen how good single car Cup Series operations are, I'm not so certain Ford's going to put a whole lot of money behind him, especially when they've got an expanding Front Row Motorsports. You've got a resurgent RFK Racing, and of course Team Penske has won a Daytona 500 and 2 championships in the last, 3 years?
Mm-hmm. Don't tell me, and I will go die on this hill, don't tell me that Denny Hamlin would not go jump at Gene Haas to go a partnership together to be a satellite team of 2311.
Sure.
Don't tell me that won't happen.
And we know where 2311 gets their stuff. They get their stuff from Joe Gibbs Racing.
Ding.
Which is not a bad place to get your stuff.
Ding.
Again, we're not sure of any of this, but it is interesting to start kind of connecting the dots and see where this might go.
True.
As for Haas F1, what we do know is this. They seem to be resurgent because over the last, 3 races or so, they've suddenly started scoring points, including double points. Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen both placing in the top 10 over in Austria, and then 2 straight 6th-place finishes for Nico Hülkenberg in Austria and in Britain. Now, all of a sudden, they are pretty solidly in 7th place in the Constructors' Cup standings and not that far away from 6th.
Not far at all.
So things looking very good over at Haas F1.
A lot better for sure.
Yeah, and they needed to be. There's no doubt about it. So as a result, this cooperative effort that they've had with Ferrari ever since they first joined Formula One back in 2016 will continue. They did sign an extension of their deal with Ferrari, Scuderia Ferrari, in order to continue being a customer of theirs using Ferrari engines, and I would assume probably more than that, because this has been something of a bit of contention amongst some people amongst the Formula One paddock, in that Haas F1 is using right up to the very limit. And I'm just going to throw a number out, but I'm going to say, okay, 49.9% of the Haas F1 car can be parts taken directly from Ferrari and just put on the car. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't know whether that number is exactly right, but I know it's not over 50%, so that's why I went 49.9. Haas F1 is using right up to that limit. And there's some people that are out there in the Formula One paddock that are like, should they be allowed to do that? Well, according to the rule book, they can. That deal right there, I can guarantee you, is for more than just the engine package. This is for more than that. They're going to continue to use a lot of the body parts and suspension work and things like that they possibly can. I don't actually think that they're using a whole lot of the body parts. I'll be real honest with you.
They're not.
I think most of it is underneath, from the power unit to the suspension, the floor pan and that's about it.
Gearbox.
Yeah. So that's really what they're using. They are actually designing their own stuff. And if they turn around with Dallara and Toyota and they work out a new chassis deal, I think they'll probably have even a little bit more separation in the bodywork, truth be told.
May do it.
So it'll be interesting to watch this situation. But yeah, Haas F1 going to stick with Ferrari at least through the 2028 season. I would presume that will probably go even further than that. But at this point in time, that's how far that contract runs out.
Yep.
All right. So a few weeks ago, we had Molly come in, and it was kind of what we call a slow news week. And we get those every once in a while.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking about the racing world or the news world, the sports world, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you get weeks that are really, really busy. Sometimes you get weeks that are really, really slow. And other than what we filled you in on this week's been rather slow. So we thought this might be an interesting chance for Molly to continue because you did admit, if I remember correctly, Molly, that you basically cut us off mainly because of time.
that I remember.
You had other questions that you were willing to ask us and you had in mind, and we said, okay, we're going to save them for later, right? Am I wrong on that? Okay.
Yeah, I've got a few more.
Okay. All right.
Sweet.
So in this, as we kind of said before, this is also a chance for young Molly, who is, still kind of at the beginnings of her broadcasting career, to hone in her interviewing skills.
Okay, so if you remember from last time, we talked a lot about kind of the genesis of why y'all wanted to get into racing.
Sure.
And so I kind of wanted to continue off of like the last two questions that I asked last time.
Okay.
All right.
And basically, if your childhood self could see you right now and look at the career that you both have had, what do you think they would think?
I've said this many, many times. I've put this out there. How I got into this business. And I think I actually said this the last time. I took a lot of the notebooks that my mom and dad bought me for school, and I was using them to fill out before I found out that there was a whole book about this, filling out American Top 40 countdowns. And I had probably 2 to 3 years of them before I realized there was a published book about it. That 11, 12, 13-year-old would be thrilled to death to see that what we initially thought, hey, that would be a really cool job, turned into what I'm actually doing. But at the same time, that 11, 12, 13-year-old self would probably also be asking my dad, why didn't we push him to try and get into actually being behind the wheel of a race car?
I mean, that's honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I mean, yeah. I've been fascinated by cars ever since I was a little kid, and loved the idea of it. And I mean, I learned how to drive a stick shift basically by watching my dad drive a Volkswagen camper with a stick. That's how I figured out, okay, you press the clutch in, you move the gear lever from 1 to 2, let the clutch back out. Boom, okay, can't be that hard. And sure enough, I figured out the finesse of it. So, yeah, I think if there was one thing that my 11, 12, 13-year-old self would look at me and go, why didn't you press Dad to actually start racing?
Well, I would say with my part, I'm going to say my 10-year-old self.
Okay.
She's got a fair age bracket, but I'll go my 10-year-old self.
There you go.
From the very first time I took a trip to Talladega and the local tracks around here, mainly in Alabama, and really started getting, you could say, getting my feet wet and learning more about it, and thinking like, hey, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do that. There's a lot of those boxes that I set as a young kid that I've fortunately been able to check off.
It's good.
Wanting to get behind the wheel of a car, even though it's of a dirt late model, it's still, you're getting behind the wheel of a car and you're putting a 5-point harness over your shoulder and 2 lap belts over. I've had the check mark of actually wanting to turn I would call it a fast lap at Talladega Superspeedway. It's not in competition, but it's still a fast lap. 182 miles an hour behind the wheel of a stock car is quick.
That's quick.
It will open your eyes up. It will make your cavity draw up. Let's say it that way. It'll open your eyes up, and it gives you a whole new respect to everything that what they do, especially out there, because it being the steepest bank facility, the highest speed facility. And even just being involved with the sport in general, whether it be working with a team or working for a facility, I've fortunately been able to check those boxes off as well. So I would say probably with me, the one mark that I would want to check, and I die on the hill of the saying, never say never. I would love the opportunity just one time, even if it's just in the Arca Menard series. I wouldn't care. Check the box off of competing in an event at Talladega. That would, if I could check that box off and it was my time to leave Earth and go to eternity, I could go away smiling.
That was actually going to be my next question, is if there is another box that you would both like to check off, if your future self could see you.
Okay. Well, he
I was about to say, he just answered that.
Yeah, you just announced it.
And I did not know the question.
No, that was actually my next question.
Yeah, we don't have any previews. Mine goes back to doing what I've been doing at Talladega and have had the chance to do at a few other tracks, including Barber Motorsports Park and PA. And I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there now that if the owners of the Red Sox and the New England Patriots happen to be watching this, my dream would be to be the PA announcer at Fenway Park and at Gillette Stadium at least one time. I don't have to do it.
That's a good one.
I don't have to do it on a full-time basis, but I'd like to do it one time each for my two favorite teams in baseball and football.
Yep.
I like that. So that brings me to this. If you didn't work in racing, what would be, I would say, like your number 2 sport that you would want to be a part of?
Oh, man, I would probably have to go football. And it really wouldn't matter necessarily what level. And this is quasi-sacrilege here in the state of Alabama where college football rules. But I have to have a vested interest in the team. Okay. No disrespect to say South Alabama, and I would appreciate it if South Alabama wanted me to be their PA announcer, but it wouldn't be the same as being, for me, Alabama, for him, Auburn. To be able to be the PA announcer for the team that you grew up rooting for has a much more significant feeling to it than just, getting a job at a university, which would be cool enough. I mean, it doesn't matter who it would be. Sanford, South Alabama, Nebraska, USC, UCLA, doesn't matter. Any of them would certainly be prestigious, but there's something about, again, being that school that you rooted for all your life. I would probably have tried to figure out a way in the broadcasting industry to see if I couldn't have worked my way somehow into football, though.
Okay.
And doing what I do as far as like PA and stuff.
Yeah.
If motorsports and racing for me a driving career wasn't an option.
You'd have been lost.
Besides that. I would say probably being either a series director or a technical director or a race director for any given series.
Yeah.
Wouldn't matter which way because people that watch our weekend show knows that I'm begging for the shot to be a series director just one race. That's all it would take. And then I could probably get the job full time because of the illiteracy of some people that are in the officials tower now. But it would be a series director.
And we've met a good number of them.
There's a couple of them I know personally, and a couple of them are really good people, and they're smart. But the ones that are above them are...
Yeah. You kind of sit there and you look, how the heck did that guy or that lady get their position?
Sure.
But it's the way it goes.
Yep.
So now I want you guys to be critical. And I know I've seen you both be very critical of the sport quite a bit since I've been your producer. If there is one aspect or one rule that you could change about racing, what would it be?
I know mine. Wes,
go for it.
Wes, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You know it first. I'm going to think about this one for a second.
The double yellow line rule at super speedways. Last lap, no holds barred.
Care to explain?
What that is, and this would be a good learning moment. As it is, this is the education.
Yes. This is the education of young Molly.
See, I'm going to have you elaborate.
Here's what this rule is. On super speed, where you got a super speedway style race, whether it's at Daytona, Talladega, or even Atlanta Motor Speedway now, what you've got on the bottom of the actual racing surface is a double painted line. Mm-hmm. Daytona and Talladega is yellow. Atlanta is red and white.
Okay.
What that signifies is out of bounds. Just like a sideline in football.
Right, yeah.
Or the foul lines in baseball. It's out of bounds. Now, if you attempt to make a pass out of bounds, if you push another competitor out of bounds, or they deem that another competitor pushes you out of bounds. For example, if Steve and I are door to door at Talladega, and when we're coming around 2 laps to go, he edges ahead of me, but I make a slingshot move to try to cross over underneath him, and any part of my car is underneath or touching that yellow line, they deem me out of bounds, and that's a disqualification.
Oh, that sucks.
It does suck. We've seen several races at Talladega be called by that garbage out of bounds line on a last lap when it's fair game.
The only win that my driver, Tony Stewart, got at Talladega, I was lucky enough to be in the PA tower for this, and that double yellow line rule came into play because of Regan Smith. And Regan Smith will, to this day, say that he should have been the one that won, and that, you know, everything, that it was a forced situation as opposed to the way that NASCAR called it. But yes, that I've seen it in action, and I'm kind of with him. I don't have a problem with it. You know, for example, a 500-mile race at Talladega is 188 laps. I don't have a problem with that rule for 187 laps, but on that final lap, I think throw it out.
There's a saying, as drivers, there's a saying, and I'm not kind of tooting my own horn here, but there's a saying that I come up with when I was driving in dirt that has elevated to other levels. In racing and war, a white flag means surrender. In racing, a white flag means war. Last lap, no holds barred. You go for it. Whatever happens, happens. You either bring back the steering wheel or the check and the trophy. I brought back the steering wheel more times than I brought back a check and a trophy. But that's the saying. The universal saying is, when the rag flies, that means either the checkered flag or the white flag. When the rag flies, it don't. If you die, you die.
So to speak.
It's so to speak. Luckily, nobody has. That just means it's no holds barred. You go for it. What you get is what you get, whether it's the steering wheel or the check. I'm like him. Lap 187, especially at Talladega or Atlanta, lap 266. If you're brave enough to go under that yellow line and you think you can make it stick, that's on you. Good luck.
Good luck. You can make it stick. More power to you.
Yeah.
Mine's probably actually a little bit more elaborate than his. And it's only because, and it's not taking away from him. I mean, he's been a race fan as long as he can remember, just like I have. But I can remember the days when, let's just say, for example, Matt decides that his car's not doing well enough. So he goes up to Big Bill France and he says, hey, listen, pick your car. What did we use for you one time? Not that long ago.
Camaro. Chevrolet.
No, we went older on that.
No, we went older. I went Oldsmobile.
I thought I went Oldsmobile.
No, you went Oldsmobile. I went Pontiac.
Okay. So back in the 1970s, we'll say 1977, you walked up to Big Bill France and you said, hey, my Pontiac Grand Prix isn't working as good as Steve's Oldsmobile over there, and I think I need to get a concession. Big Bill France would give you a couple of options, none of which would be NASCAR going and helping Pontiac. It would be, well, you got a choice. You can live with what you got. You can go drive an Oldsmobile, or you can go work with Pontiac and you make your car better. I'm kind of tired of NASCAR working so hard to make everything between the three current makes, Toyota, Chevrolet, and Ford, all even. There's a reason why these people got into this business of racing in the first place. It was to go out there and prove, hey, my Chevrolet's better than your Ford and your Toyota, or my Ford's better than your Chevrolet and your Toyota, and all the way around. And, of course, it brings about the whole idea of win on Sunday, sell on Monday. There's nothing, as Days of Thunder said, there's nothing stock about a stock car. It's very true, and it's gotten even more so now than what it was when Days of Thunder came out, good grief, 30 years ago.
The only thing that is remotely stock about a stock car now is the engine block.
And that's really about it.
remotely.
You know, and when I really, really got into racing, they were just making the move to go from effectively a totally stock car with an interior that was just kind of gutted and made for racing to having tube chassis, but the body still looked like the car that you went down to your local dealership, whichever one it was that was your favorite, and you bought it. That, to me, would be the way to do it. Let Chevrolet, Ford, and Toyota go back to being able to innovate and take some of those innovations, and they can put them into the road cars.
Exactly. Exactly.
So now my next few questions, I think, are more fun questions.
Okay.
Sweet.
I think. So I want you to pretend that you are currently either, you're in the Cup Series, NASCAR driver, F1, whatever you choose.
Okay.
I want you to make your perfect car. The make, the colors, the number, what you would wear, the brands. I want you to design your own perfect. It might take a second.
It ain't going to take me long.
It's
That's
not
why
going
I'm
to take
doing
me too
it
long.
for.
No, it's not going to take me too long.
I know the number.
Well,
Of him.
any number is going to have a 4 in it.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I can get 4, 14, 24, something like that. If I could get 44.
Well, I say 44
perfect.
would be perfect.
4 or 44 would be the first choice, and then 14. I would. Are we going at any point in time?
Yeah, whenever.
Okay. I've been a Pontiac guy for a long time, so I'm going to go back to the old Pontiac Grand Prix. Brand, I'm not really all that concerned about. I mean, I drink Coke Zero a lot. How's that? So, I'd be more than happy to have Coke Zero sported on the hood. I'd be more than happy to do that. It wouldn't bother me at all. But yeah, that would be for me the ultimate. I'll put it out there right now. Number 4 Pontiac with Coke Zero on the hood.
We're going to take it back to 1998. Or was it 99? 98 or 99, one. With the old Monte Carlo SS Chevrolets that just had came out.
I remember those.
We're going to slap a number 10 on the side of it.
Mm-hmm. I knew that was the number.
There's a reason why I use the number 10, because October is a really significant month for me and my family and my wife. So that's why I went with the number 10. The car is going to fly the colors of black, red, and white. And I'm going to sit and say the sponsor is going to be Under Armour.
Okay.
Did you hear me, Kevin Blank?
I mean, heck,
Under Armour.
We've just given Under Armour and Coca-Cola a couple of really nice commercials. How about it?
I've got an Under Armour car that I use on iRacing and simulation racing that catches a lot of people's eyes when I roll out with it.
I bet it does.
So if you see it, call me.
So I've actually been thinking about this one too for myself. I don't know about what kind of car. My dad's a big Mustang guy, so if that would be at all possible, maybe
Sure.
a Mustang.
Yeah.
But
It's very possible, especially now.
right.
Very,
Yeah.
very.
The number for me would be 27. That's always been my lucky number.
Okay.
I remember my 5th grade locker combo was 2727, and so ever since it's just been my lucky number.
Okay. And that I was going to ask you to explain what the meaning of the number was. So
Right.
there you go.
And it's just it's just a number of like a pattern I've seen a lot throughout my life.
Is it bad for me to sit here and say that my football locker in the locker room, the combination was 7227?
See? My freshman year dorm room at Nebraska was number 227. So
Wow.
it's
Wow.
just
Room 227. Did you remember the TV show? There's an old TV show called Room 227.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So just my lucky number. But for the brand that I would want to represent me, I would pick Mattel, like the toy brand, and I would do a Barbie pink dream car.
Especially after last year, that'd have been real hot.
And
That
I would want my
would have
own
been-
like Barbie. Like Barbie can be a driver because there's, Barbie could be a doctor.
Well,
Barbie
sure.
could be this. Barbie could be that. Barbie-
Mattel actually has been in sponsorship before.
They have, yeah.
They have.
But I would want a pink Barbie dream car Mustang.
Well,
And that would be me.
And here's the thing: as long as you were willing to, Mattel probably would be more than happy to jump at it because, yeah, I mean, you got the obvious connection with Barbie, but they've got so many other brands of toys underneath their
the possibilities
name.
are endless.
So, yeah.
God, I would love to be the spotter for that car. That'd be so easy to spot.
No kidding.
You over
There
there?
it is.
Pink, got it.
Like the Barbie bubble gum pink. It'd be
Yeah, that would stand out. There's no doubt about it.
Yes, it would.
Okay, another fun question.
Here we go.
If you could have dinner with 3 drivers, dead or alive, who would it be and what would you
Ooh,
Wow, 3.
that's a good one.
It is.
That's a very good one.
It is.
ask? Thank
No
you.
doubt about it.
I appreciate that.
Dead
That-
or alive?
This is something I've actually put thought into before.
Well, because everyone
Okay.
asks, like, if you could
No,
have
yeah,
dinner
yeah,
with
yeah.
3 famous
Sure.
people,
Right,
dead or
right.
alive. So
Oh,
I wanted to
absolutely.
narrow it
For
down
sure.
to more of like your niche. And
Yeah.
Whoever
No,
you think.
I understand right where you're coming from. You've put some thought in it. I got 2. I've got to think about that third one.
I'm going to take my 3. I could go 4, but I'll stick to the rules. I'll stick to 3.
If given the opportunity, we could probably rattle off a whole bunch.
I would go. There's so many. Oh. I would say I would like to be able to sit at a table and have dinner with Dale Earnhardt.
That's a good one.
I would like to sit at that same table with. I'm going to say AJ Foyt.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one, I'm going to go F1. I would like to sit at that table too as well, Ayrton Senna.
Yeah, I could see those 3. The first 2 are NASCAR. These are 2 that Matt's going to go, yep, nailed it. DW, Tony Stewart. Those are easy. The third one is hard. And the main reason why is because I gave consideration to one of your picks, which was AJ Foyt. But he and Tony are so much alike that I feel like I'd be getting a lot of the same answers. So I would probably be looking for something more of a different point of view. And it's kind of a toss-up because both of them really do have F1 roots in them. But Mario is probably a little more... He's known at least as much for his IndyCar exploits as Formula One. But I've always been fascinated by Sir Jackie Stewart. So I think I might go Jackie Stewart. Just a hair over Mario Andretti.
The honorable mention, if I could call it an honorable mention, the honorable mention one that I would pick is going to be Al Unser Sr.
Yeah. See, my honorable mention would have been Mario.
I wouldn't Al Unser Sr.
Yeah. I mean, those guys that kind of helped pioneer and watched as IndyCar really got into its modern era and helped it into really more of what the sport that we have seen now. And that's AJ. That's the Unser family. That's the Andretti family. Those guys really brought about IndyCar and made it really huge in the 1970s. I mean, IndyCar in the 1970s was more popular than NASCAR was.
It was.
You know, and those were the guys that were spearheading that. Yeah, I would love to talk to them about that particular time. And then, you know, for me, Tony Stewart would be to not only pick his brain about not only his racing, because this is one of those drivers who everyone says he can get into any kind of car and be competitive just like that, but to also talk to him about his business acumen and how he's gotten into race team ownership and owning racetracks and things like that. And then for Darrell, you could talk about the broadcasting angle because for, you know, someone who's young like you, that's really what they know him for. Mm-hmm. They don't really remember him being behind the wheel, but I remember him being behind the wheel to talk to him about how NASCAR progressed from the 1970s, 80s, and 90s with him behind the wheel, and then watched as it transformed over and over and over again while he was up in the broadcast booth. He was there front and center to see all of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how many more do you want? Because I have a few more, but
let's do one more, and then we'll save more for part 3.
I could go a twist off of that question too.
Okay, go for it.
The twist I would go off of that question that she had. This is one person that I would go back and have a sit down with him one more time, and that's Jim Neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
We were fortunate enough to be able to go to Jim Neighbor's home in Hawaii in 2006.
Oh, wow.
Because his original hometown is from Sylacauga, not far from here. That's where he's from. Mm-hmm. And it was luckily, which it was lucky, where my mother worked at the time, the insurance agency she worked for, they had his sister, who still resides in Sylacauga, had her insured, had her insurance policy. So she got a hold of her and talked with her, and she got my mom through to Jim. The reason I said I would want to go back is to talk to him more about his experiences for all those years singing Back Home Again in Indiana at the Indy 500.
Yeah.
That's why I would want to go back, because me, at the age that I was at the time, I was 21. You want to see somebody go from a 21-year-old to a 5-year-old like a kid in a candy store? He had a room in his house that was nothing but memorabilia and relics from over the years at Indianapolis, and all I could say was, oh, dear Lord. Mm-hmm. Things that he had, pictures of the dignitaries and people that he was with. I would want to go back one more time.
Sure.
And just like, so about this, about that.
Yeah.
So
that would be good. All right, one more.
All right. I got to make sure it's good. Because like I said, I have a bank.
Yeah.
But if we're going to do a part 3, then I'll obviously save them.
There's at least going to be a part 3. There may be more.
Right. So back to what we were talking about, how you would design your car if you had one. If you could drive any car day to day on the street, your baby, what would it be?
Ultimate daily driver for me?
Yeah.
1971 Oldsmobile 442 convertible, 455 under the hood, 4-speed transmission.
That was very specific.
Yes.
But I like that.
That's dream car number 2. Dream car number 1, I would be afraid to take out on a regular basis, and that's a 1963 split window Corvette.
Okay.
That's worth way too much.
I would second that. Oh, Lord. Oh, wow. If I could have a daily driver, this is way over the entire checkbook of this whole building, I wouldn't mind having a electric blue McLaren to drive.
True.
McLarens are very cool.
That'd do it.
Yeah,
that's a 7-figure car right there.
Yeah, this is an off-camera topic, but I actually have talked to an individual before at an NHRA event in Indianapolis that was actually complaining about whether she was going to drive a Porsche or a McLaren.
Oh,
that's a tough choice.
What a problem to have.
That's a bad problem to have.
Now, I will say this. I happen to know somebody who owns a McLaren 720S, and he has promised to allow me to drive the car.
There you go.
I'm a little freaked out, truth be told, because I know the stats on the car. That's a beast.
This is paging Brian Crichton. We need the keys to the track.
Yeah, we might need an opening.
I mean, a little bit.
So is that the ultimate one, or you something more on a day-to-day basis?
That is hands down the ultimate one.
The ultimate one, okay.
Ultimate one.
So day-to-day?
Every single day.
Day-to-day?
Day-to-day, I would say it would probably be a Z06 Corvette.
Nice.
Color wouldn't matter.
Yeah, nice.
See, for me,
rear engine.
I would want a James Bond, like Aston
Martin.
Yeah.
Older one?
Oh, yeah, definitely an older
DB5?
one. Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know the specific names of the Aston Martins.
Yeah, it's a good call.
But day to day, so like a couple summers ago, like I said, my dad's a big Mustang guy, so that was always the car that, I grew up looking at. Like I remember before my 16th birthday, we actually looked at a 67 Ford Mustang that was like the springtime yellow. It was stick shift, and I can't drive stick. And he was like, I'm not giving my 16-year-old a stick shift. So I respect that decision.
Yeah, it's a wise move.
On his part, right. Yep. But like I was saying a few summers back, we got to go to the Shelby Mustang Museum out in Las Vegas. And ever since, I just thought the little Cobra was the coolest thing ever. Sure. And I actually saw one here in Birmingham a few months ago. I was driving down 280, and all of a sudden, I think it was red. This red Shelby Mustang just pulls right in front of me. I literally FaceTimed my dad on the spot. I was like, Dad, look what's in front of me right now. Because he's a huge Mustang guy. So that would probably be my day-to-day. But the ultimate would be the James Bond car.
There you go. I like it.
Thank
I
you.
like it a lot. All right, so that's part 2 of Molly as she continues to hone her skills and learns things about all different kinds of stuff.
I have learned a lot.
Yep, and she's still got more in the bank.
If I could throw an ultimate race car I would love to drive, dear Michael Andretti, I need you to come down I-20, to exit 173, hang a left, go about 3 miles. There's a little place out on the left called Talladega. I would want to wheel one of those Delaras around Talladega for about 5 laps, which is probably all I would be able to stand for about 5 laps. That's the ultimate drive I would love to take in a race car.
Real quick before we go, we had in our studios the now former third in command, I think, at the time at Talladega Superspeedway.
Second.
Was he second at that time?
Second, yep.
Okay. The only reason I said third is because I thought Russell was third. But either way, we talked to him at one point in time, and he told us the story about it. He wasn't there, but he told us the story about it because it's been handed down. That A.J. Foyt brought an IndyCar to Talladega, circa 1980-ish, maybe a little earlier?
Late 80s and early 90s.
Okay.
There's an and to that, too.
Yeah. And it was just a chance for him to bring the car down because there was an open test and he happened to be in the area, so he brought his IndyCar down. He took his IndyCar out onto Talladega. Nobody was officially timing this. Now, remember, A.J. Foyt is the all-time wins record holder in IndyCar history. He's got 4 Indy 500 wins. This man is one of the fastest men in IndyCar history. He took that car around for 1 lap at full speed, brought it down pit road, got out of the car, and everyone said he was white as a ghost. It freaked him out how fast he was going. Think about that for a couple of minutes. Yeah, it'd be fun to try. It'd be fun to try.
Yeah.
Episode 19 in the books. Episode 20 next week. Maybe delay today. We'll talk about that because this guy's on the road this weekend and he'll be heading back next Wednesday. So it may be a little bit later on in the day on Wednesday, or we may delay it to Thursday. We'll talk about that afterward. But either way, we will bring you another episode of Cross Flags next week. And of course, don't forget the Saturday show, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. Join us for CRN, the Championship Racing Network. Until we talk to you Saturday and next week, have a great one. Enjoy the racing.
You've been listening to Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. For more content like this, subscribe to CRN Live on YouTube, and you'll be set to catch the 2-hour live show every Saturday morning at 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.